Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living, Victoria Online. My name is Carrie Hunter, and I'm the Spiritual Director and Senior Minister at the Center. And it's great to have you here with me today, whatever day it is you happen to be watching this, because of course this is a recording. We do meet live at the Cook Street Village Activity Center on Sundays at 10:30 for meditation and 11 for service. If you'd care to join us in person some Sunday, we would love to welcome you there. So, as I was thinking about my talk today, something that Marianne Williamson said many years ago came to my mind, and she was talking about Alcoholics Anonymous. And she said that she was at a meeting and there was a sign on the wall that said, "Your best thinking got you here." And I thought about that this week because the title of my talk is minding your mind. And so, what is it that we're thinking? What is it that you're thinking? And what is your best thinking? Are you happy where you are right now? I was asking myself those kinds of questions. If my best thinking got me here, am I missing anything in my life? Is there anything that I'd like to change, that I'd like to shift in a small way or in a big way? Because whatever it is that I happen to be doing and experiencing at the moment is something that I've been thinking about for quite a while. Sometimes it happens quickly, sometimes not so quickly, but it's certainly something that we need to be thinking about. Emma Curtis Hopkins said, "Stand guardian at the portals of your mind." Stand guardian at the portals of your mind. I love that particular expression because it really means to be aware, be consciously aware of what we're thinking, and realizing that our thoughts, our beliefs, the things that we care about very deeply, are the things that we manifest in our lives. And if we're unhappy with the way things are, and we continue to be unhappy about them, we're going to create more unhappiness. That's the way all of this works. It may sound foreign to you if you're new to this teaching, but that is the way that it works. And so I was asking myself, am I mindful of my mind? Am I mindful of my thoughts? Are you mindful of yours? Are you mindful of your thoughts? If you're feeling kind of down, do you want to stay in that down place, or do you want to choose something different? Do you want to choose happiness in your life? And I was thinking about it in terms of springtime because everywhere you go right now, everything is so beautiful. So many blossoms and wonderful flowers. I actually got out of my car the other day at a corner near where I live. And there's a house there that has, I don't know if it's just all soil. I guess it must be. That goes right from the sidewalk up to their doorstep. And there must be 1,000 tulips in bloom there. They're every color you can imagine. And it just took my breath away. I actually got out and took a picture of it because it was so incredibly beautiful. And I thought about them planting those bulbs and the joy that they would experience seeing them coming up in the spring and now seeing them in full glorious bloom. I don't know what happens when they finish blooming. I'll have to go around and have a look. But right now, it is just such a magnificent experience to look at them. And of course, we're seeing these beautiful, beautiful flowers everywhere right now. And and so I was thinking about that and thinking, the bulbs were planted probably last fall, maybe I don't maybe 2 years ago. I just never noticed them before, which is unusual. And when they were planted, the people who planted them knew that they were going to sprout roots. The bulbs would sprout roots, and that at the perfect time they would start to grow. And so it's kind of like that with us too. We're planting seeds or bulbs in our minds with our thoughts. And as we nurture them, they start to take root and they start to grow. And so we ask ourselves, are we thinking happy thoughts, positive thoughts? Because if we are, then they're going to grow those roots and we're going to create more happiness in our lives. Or are we planting negative seeds that are going to grow into weeds, a garden of weeds that are going to create unhappiness in our lives? It's kind of a metaphor for the way all of this works. If we think of our minds as being the soil, the place where things are planted. And if we're not happy with our lives, then we really need to take a look at the way that we're thinking. And I know that sounds, if I just say it glibly, it sounds so easy. And it's not always easy, but it is possible. And that's what we need to know. We can't let ourselves, be unhappy, choose a happy thought, and then lapse back into unhappiness again. It's really important for us to continue to think happy thoughts, to see the end result, to remember what it's like to be happy, to see what it's like to be happy in our minds, because it's that vision, that image that is creating. And as long as we're in a place where we're feeling depressed and down about everything in the world, then we create more of the same, and we find ourselves sliding deeper and deeper into it. And so it's a choice, and Ernest Holmes, who's the founder of our faith, Centers for Spiritual Living, Ernest Holmes, he reminds us that we have the freedom to think as we choose. We have free will, and we alone are creating our thoughts. We alone, we might say, no, 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 that's not true. You have no idea what that person said to me. You have no idea what that person did to me. You have no idea what my life is like right now. Well, the thing is, no matter what it's like, no matter what is happening, no matter what anyone has said to us, they did not create the way we're feeling. We created it. We have a choice about how we're going to accept things. And that's the biggest step that we can take in minding our minds, is to know that we create our thoughts. We choose how we're going to think about absolutely anything that is going on in our lives. And that can get us into great trouble, or it can get us into a state of great happiness and freedom in our lives, of living in a state of grace, which is certainly where I want to live my life. The world tends to have us wallowing in fear sometimes. Right now is it's been a very challenging time for the last few years, but if we look before that, we have always had challenges going on this planet, in different countries of the world, in our own lives. The pandemic that we have gone through has been really challenging for most people, those who've been in lockdown for a long time, and some who are continuing to stay that way because of the fear of perhaps getting COVID, now that it is so rampant. Even though people aren't getting very sick with it, it is everywhere. And so we really need to watch our thoughts. What is it that we're thinking? And at the same time that we've gone through all of this, there's a dreadful war going on. There are wars going on throughout the world, but the one, of course, that we've been the most focused on the last 2 months is the war in the Ukraine. And the images on the news are excruciatingly painful. I don't think I have ever turned on the news and have seen anything in the Ukraine where I haven't just burst into tears. It just is like a dagger in the heart to see what is going on. But I know that is not helping the Ukrainian people. And so what I am called to do, what we are all called to do, is to visualize peace in the Ukraine, to be able to actually see it, to see the people out there in the streets free, walking about in peace, rebuilding, or actually having their homes rebuilt. The beautiful green fields green again, agriculture thriving again, because it is the breadbasket for Europe, and it is so important. And so when we see the end result and focus upon that, no matter what's going on in front of us, no matter what we see, if we say there is peace in the Ukraine now, and we see what that looks like, we're sending out a powerful message. As I said a couple of weeks ago, Greg Braden said that our hearts send out an electrical message, an electrical magnetic message. And it doesn't just go out a few inches from our heart centers. It can go out around the world. It is measurable. And so when we know that our thoughts are creative, it is so important for us to be creating peace. Peace in the Ukraine, peace on earth, seeing love awakening in every heart, everywhere. And it's a challenge when we look at those who are responsible for the devastation. But what we can do is we can visualize a new leader who is bringing about peace in the world, who's bringing about peace in that region. And we can see it and feel it and know that it is real because we're planting those roots. We're planting the seeds and they're taking root in our minds, and we're sending that energy out into the cosmos, out into this planet everywhere. And it has an effect. We really need to understand this. It is measurable. Our thoughts are measurable. You know, if you start reading about quantum physics, you begin to understand how connected we are to everyone and to everything, and I really recommend that. You know, children know exactly how to do this. It's instinctive. You know, they're born that way. They don't know that they're to sit and wallow in everything when they're little. You know, there was a wonderful story I read years ago. I believe the man's name was his last name was it was Sean Acon or Acor. I don't have it at hand, so I don't really remember, but I think it was Sean Acor. I think it was spelled Akor. And his, excuse me, an experience in his childhood led him to his life career. And he and his little sister, he was 7 years old and his little sister was 5. And his mom had told him, has told Sean and Amy to go to their bedroom and play and not to make any noise. She was busy with something, and just to play and take care of themselves. So they climbed up on the bunk beds, up to the top bunk. And Sean, being the elder, decided that, you know, it was up to him to determine exactly what they were going to play, and that Amy just had to go along with it. And so he wanted to play war. And he got out all his GI Joe stuff and lined everything up. And Amy had a collection of little toy ponies, and so she was the cavalry on the other side of the bunk, and she had all of her little horses lined up. And while Sean was looking the other way, Amy slipped over the side of the bunk and landed on all fours. And he heard her crash, and he looked, and she was on her hands and knees, and he knew that obviously she was going to be in a lot of pain. And then what went through his head was what his mother had said, you know, you have to be quiet. And he knew that he was the one who was going to be in big trouble if Amy started to cry. And he looked at Amy and he said, Amy, you know, and this is at the point where her face is starting to contort, where she's about to just burst into tears and screams. And he said, Amy, look at you. Aren't you wonderful? You've landed on all fours and you've turned into a unicorn. Well, what he knew about his little sister was that being called a unicorn was her dream. That to be a unicorn was her dream. And so that for a moment, he said she was kind of frozen in one spot, and she looked up at him and she couldn't decide what to do. And then all of a sudden, she had a smile on her face and said, I'm a unicorn. And she climbed back up on the top of the bunk and they went on playing. Well, you know, if you have children of your own, you know that when they were little tiny tots, that if they fell and hurt themselves or, you know, something upset them, if you picked them up and cuddled them and said, here, you know, mommy will kiss it better or daddy will kiss it better, that immediately the child would stop crying and would just cuddle and then would squirm to get back down and do whatever he or she was doing before. It's just an intuitive thing. Give it up and go back and be happy. Well, Sean thought about this throughout his childhood, and he realized that he could help people change their minds about how they were feeling about things. And he went to Harvard, and then he started teaching at Harvard when he graduated, and he taught something called positive psychology. And that was a couple of decades ago. Well, of course, we call it science of mind and positive thinking. This is nothing new to us. It's been going on well, it's ancient wisdom, really. Not about falling and picking ourselves up and laughing, but metaphorically, when we're in a challenging place, and experiencing difficulties in our lives, experiencing pain, we know that we can rid ourselves of this by thinking of ourselves in a positive way, by becoming the metaphorical unicorn and and feeling ourselves just so blessed with life in every way. And so, what is it that you're thinking right now? What is it that you have been thinking? What are your thought patterns throughout your life? Can you remember a time when you were hurting and you decided, you've made a choice, a conscious choice to be happy? Perhaps there was something difficult going on for you, and that you decided that you just weren't going to let it happen. You were going to go out and have a good time. I mean, that's the part of human nature that can kick in. But it's also what we can consciously do with our minds. We can allow this to kick in for us at any time in our life. And it's so important, it's important for us to see what we're doing with our minds. Are we minding our minds? Are we consciously deciding how to think? Because this teaching of ours is so important. It teaches us how to think, not what to think. So many churches, religions they're teaching so much dogma. Centers for Spiritual Living are not about dogma. They're about how we think, teaching us how to think in a positive way and how to look at life and how we can shift things quickly when we need to. Ernest Holmes said that whatever is going on in our lives depends upon the lens through which we're looking at the time. Are we looking through a happy lens, or are we looking through an unhappy lens? So many of us tend to believe that happiness depends upon everything that's external to us. Everything has to be going perfectly, or we can't be happy. Well, he said, 10% of what is external has to do with our happiness. 90% has to do with our inner work, with what is in our minds. And we don't often stop to think about that because we get so engaged with the external world. And so just as little children cry and we kiss them to make it better, and we hug them and we give them a lollipop or whatever we do, we have to understand that we can make a choice for happiness. We can make a choice for better health. We can make a choice for prosperity in our lives in every way. We can make a choice for relationships in our lives, good ones, healthy ones. We can make choices about the things that we're going to do, the work that we're going to do. It may sound far-fetched if you haven't been in this teaching very long, but I tell you, it works. You just keep focusing upon it. And Ernest Holmes said that, if you start with a couple of minutes in the morning, when you wake up, good morning, God. Start your day off, good morning, God, not good God, it's morning, but good morning, God. Whatever you want to call it, it doesn't matter what you call God. It's not some old man up in the sky. It is that spirit, that creative intelligence that is inside each and every one of us. It is there to do our bidding. We use it. We use it all the time. We use it with our thoughts. And so he suggests that when we wake up in the morning, that we immediately think of 3 things that we're grateful for. 3 new things each day. But there might be some days where it's as simple as, oh, thank God I woke up today. But we all have things to be grateful for when we think about it. And when we're conscious of those things, especially if we journal them, when we're conscious of these things, we start to shift the way our lives are working. Gratitude is an enormous gift, and it is something that we can give to ourselves and give to the world. And so, I am so grateful for my home. I'm so grateful for my children. I'm so grateful that my friend took me out for lunch yesterday. I'm so grateful that the sun is shining. I'm so grateful I came across that massive garden of tulips that thrilled me so much. I'm so grateful for springtime. I mean, there are so many things. There are little things, there are big things. And the thing is, 21 days is the magic number. And when we do something for 21 days, our consciousness shifts. Everything in us starts to move in a different direction. And you've probably experienced this yourself. I remember many people know that I lived in Banff for 30 years, and I was physically very active when I lived there. I climbed, I skied all winter, um, not every day, but I skied throughout the winter months. And as soon as spring started, I mean, there would still be snow, but the roads would be plowed and clear. I would get on my bike and I would bike up Tunnel Mountain and I would bike around the Vermilion Lakes and I would bike out to Lake Minnewanka and I would bike down the number one highway sometimes. And the thing is, I would be bundled up because it would be cold. But, and as I would start doing it, I would think, oh man, this is hard. It's really tough slugging going up this mountain on my bike. But I would do it. And I would make myself do it. And after 21 days, I would just be joyful. I couldn't wait to get to my bike and to hop on it and to go for a ride. And then I would do that all through the summer months and into the fall until it was time to ski again. And it was the same thing when I joined a gym. I can remember the first 3 weeks I was just miserable. It's like, oh, why am I getting up at 6 a.m. to go to the gym? Why am I lifting weights? Why am I on the Stairmaster? Why am I doing this? But I would keep on doing it. And after 21 days, I couldn't wait to get up in the morning and get to the gym and to start working on things again. That magic number of days, whatever it is that we want to shift, might be a diet. It might be something to do with health. It might have to do with exercise. The thing is that what we're doing is we are conditioning our minds. We are being mindful of our thoughts, even if at first we're not enjoying them. If we're in gratitude every day, it works. But also if we're exercising, if it happens to be physical exercise, after 21 days, we can count on it being something that we don't want to give up. I remind myself of that today because there are some things that I really want to get back into doing. And I know that once I start and once I do it for 21 days, then I'm going to be hooked. I'm going to be wanting to continue it. So perhaps give that a try if your life isn't where you want it right now. But the most important thing is that gratitude. And when you journal your gratitude, when you write down the 3 things for which you're grateful, what you're doing is you're actually causing your brain, your mind, to relive the experience. So when it's gratitude, when you have a grateful heart, when it's joyful, then you are actually reliving the experience of joy and gratitude. And your mind is taken over by that and starts creating more of the same, more things for which you can be grateful. So it's really, really important that we're in touch with this. It's so easy to just gloss over it, to lose ourselves in thoughts that are unpleasant. But let's today begin conditioning ourselves, 21 days, conditioning ourselves to choose a happy thought. If something negative crosses our minds, then to halt, to stop whatever we're doing, and to just go into that place of where we feel the presence in our hearts, and to visualize the outcome that we want in our lives, the perfect outcome, and know that God delivers this or better to us. Think about how much happier you are when you're smiling instead of, having a big frown on your face or scowling or, kind of shuffling around looking down. I don't remember who it was who said, um, it might have been Reverend Kathy Ann Lewis, I'm not sure. But anyway, whoever it was said, just keep your head down for a few minutes, look down. And then look straight ahead and see the difference in how you're feeling. And then look up. If you're in a room right now, look up to where the wall and the ceiling meet, that kind of line where it meets. And again, notice how it lifts you up. It's such a simple exercise. So if you're feeling down, then Lift your head, and then lift it higher and allow happy thoughts to flow. Allow a better vision of life to flow through you. I'm reminded of the words of the wonderful poet Rumi, my favorite poet, where he said, out there beyond our ideas of right and wrong is a field, and I'll meet you there. I love that. No matter what we're going through, if we're having a dispute with someone in the family or with a friend, imagine yourself flying over what we believe to be right and wrong. Just leave it behind, release it, and land in that field and meet that person there, in a place where there is no right or wrong, in the place where there is divine perfection, in the place where God is, the place where we experience God in, as, and through us, and acknowledge that divine perfection within. And I invite you now to just close your eyes for a couple of minutes and just listen to these words and make them yours. This is my eternal moment of revitalization, renewal, and remembrance. This is the moment I know myself as the particularized and radiant expression of the universal wholeness, which is God, which is who I am, what I am. I dedicate my life from this moment forward to deepening my embodiment of the changeless love, creativity, spiritual authority, and generosity, which naturally flows inward, upward, and outward by means of me. I am a beneficent divine presence, living, learning, loving, and growing into ever richer and riper manifestations of harmony, oneness, allness, and beauty. I let go, and I simply and freely welcome God, knowing and experiencing itself by means of me. I give thanks for the presence and power of divine love, light, and life, bringing the promise of heaven to earth, here and now. Those are words written by Ernest Holmes, and they're words to really hold close to our hearts. Think on them. Think about how you want your world to look. Think about what you want to experience. Hold those images in your mind and in your heart and watch your life change. It's all about minding your mind. And so it is. Wasa. Thank you for being here today. It's always good to know that there are those of you online, and also we love to see you at our center as well. If you feel like making a donation to our center, we welcome it and we're very grateful. You can do that by going to our website at www.cslvictoria.org, and you'll see a donate button there. When you click on that, it will take you to PayPal. And if you read the fine print under PayPal, if you don't have a PayPal account, it allows you to use a credit card or a debit card to make a donation. So you just click on that. Or you can send a donation to donate@cslvictoria.org. That, of course, is by e-transfer. We are very grateful for what you give. We're very grateful for your support in every way. And I bless you. Have a wonderful, wonderful week, ever mindful of everything that you are grateful for in your life. And just watch things change. God bless you all. And so it is.